Welcome to another exciting edition of American Warrior Radio, the place to be for news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues military and veteran related. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or National Guard or Reserves, you've come to the right place. American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, sponsored as always by AVET Project. Folks, this program is all about supporting our troops and their families, both past and present. So please get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee, maybe a pencil or paper to jot down a note or two, because we're always efforting to bring you important information. But with that said, let's roll down the runway and get this show off the ground. As you all know that are regular listeners to American Warrior Radio, my name is Garen Cohn. I'm an Air Force veteran, a retired legal advocate for veterans, and founder of AVET Project, but I never travel through the airwaves alone.
Good morning. I'm Glenn McGuffey, manager of your Brevard County Veteran Services team. And we're going, as Garen has already indicated, we're going to have a great show for you today. Sit back and relax a little bit. Get a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper, because we're going to end up giving you information you need to get even more information about the important topics we're going to provide you information about today. And
we got a lot to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about, and
kind of a potpourri, actually.
Yeah. As I used to tell my previous show's partner, potpourri is what he called it. It sure will. So
I want to get started by mentioning to everybody out there in American Warrior Radio land that AVET Project took a trip over to Tampa, James Haley Hospital, and we also visited Bay Pines and got a chance to speak with the Assistant Director, Scott Posty, who's a 6-year Marine himself, now an Assistant Director with the VA Regional Office over in Tampa. He made a commitment. He's going to be joining us on American Warrior Radio sometime in the future here.
Looking forward to that.
No kidding. Because, folks, even though Glenn and I we're always going to tell you the truth, and we may bring up some failings on the part of the VA. There are good people in the VA, and they've got an incredible mission to accomplish, and we want to do everything we can and foster positive relationships with them so that they're receptive to and provide feedback for the questions that you vets have. So we're always open. You know, there's an open line here, and you can call in today if you'd like, 631-1300 if you've got a question. But while we were over there, and I mentioned this to you, Glenn, and the pictures are up on Facebook, AVET Project was able to present a hand cycle. That's a bicycle, it's a trike, but instead of using your legs to pedal it, you use your arms. And we were able to meet up with a warrior, goes by the name TD. He was in the Army, suffered a devastating injury after an IED blast, lost his right leg. Just a wonderful gentleman, a heck of a soldier, indomitable spirit, and AVET Project, working with the James Haley Recreational Therapy Department, presented him with this hand cycle.
Yeah, and how wonderful is that? And the story gets even more chilling and better when you consider what his plans for use of that bike is.
Exactly. We were speaking with him and his recreational therapist, Tammy. Big shout out to you, Tammy. Thanks for arranging this and making sure that it went to a warrior that could not only use it, but even grow from it. Well, the plan is, just the week prior to us presenting this hand cycle to him, and folks, I don't know if you know, but these are very expensive machines. If you buy them new, they're up to $3,000, $4,000, but and more. My producer's telling me they're very expensive. Well, we were able to secure this from a gentleman who had used it. He wasn't a veteran, but he was looking to help the vets, and AVET Project was able to buy it for just a fraction of that cost, and we presented it as every AVET Project program, free of charge to the warrior. Well, Tammy over there in the Recreational Therapy Department has plans, as you mentioned, Glenn. The week prior to going over there, she had already had TD on a hand cycle to do some therapy and some riding. And now the plan is, because literally she told me afterwards via email that after we'd left, he was sitting there just gazing upon his bicycle, his hand cycle, and just really raring to go on it. Well, now they're going to start training so that he can compete in a qualifying event for the Paralympic Games in February. The qualifying event is in February over in Tampa, and you can bet we're going to do some follow-up and have some video on that. But for all you folks that want to see some of the pictures and read a little bit more about this, go to avetproject.org. That's the website, avetproject.org. AVET, again, is an acronym for
American Veterans Empowerment Team. And here is just one more example of the great things they do for the veterans in our local community, in VA hospitals. And let's not forget that they send those packages to help veterans who predominantly now are stationed in the combat area known as Afghanistan. And I point all this out because this is a valid organization, and like any organization where they are running off of the donations from your heart, and maybe every now and then they get lucky and get a small grant somewhere along the way. But you know, these are the people to support. One of those to support. Nobody would say there's not many that can deserve support.
Of course.
But here's a local one, and I'm telling you from all my experience, 23 years as a manager of our county veteran services team, this is a good place to put your donation.
And if you'd like to see some of the follow-up to this story where TD got his hand cycled, go to avetproject.org, lower left-hand corner of the homepage, click on the Facebook icon. Even if you're not a member, you're going to be able to view the information, take a look at the photos. You'll see TD there. Like I said, he was just overjoyed. And we'd hope to visit with Dr. Stephen Scott, who you know, Glenn.
Oh, absolutely. What a wonderful man he is. And he's kind of the designer and author of this whole program over there for our severely wounded warriors to get them back and to a more normal lifestyle, a functioning lifestyle where they don't slip into depression and other mental health issues. And some of the examples he have would just water your eyes. I mean, it's unbelievable what they can get done.
No kidding. And Dr. Stephen Scott's the chief of the Poly Trauma /TBI clinic. And they just do some wonderful work. They're adding on to their building. They're moving up instead of out. They've got, I guess, 2 additional floors they're adding so they can centralize. Right now, again, this is, you know, it's a lack of planning or what have you. They have different parts of the Poly Trauma Clinic located throughout the campus. Well, what are we dealing with but severely, catastrophically disabled vets?
That's right.
So under his leadership, they have brought all these pieces together under literally one roof, and we applaud him for those efforts. And as a manner of saying thank you and also to help support the troops, WMEL, that's right, your Talk to Me station, provided AVET Project a big bunch of Tampa Rays baseball tickets to take over with us and present to the Poly Trauma TBI clinic so that they could get all these guys and some gals together and go enjoy a Tampa Rays baseball game. So hats off to John and Vern at WMEL.
Hoorah!
No doubt. And if you want to call and say thanks to them, always do that. 631-1300 or send them an email. You know, you can check out past episodes of American Warrior Radio by going to the WMEL website. And it's very easy to remember. 1300-1300 WMEL.com. Look under, click on Archives. You'll find American Warrior episodes there. And send them a thank you for that, because, man, it's got to mean a lot to these troops to be able to go out and enjoy a ball game.
Oh, I know it will. And just one more quick comment on the bicycle. I was reminded of how thrilled I was when I was a young boy and got my first bicycle. I bet he feels kind of the same way because of the loss of mobility taken away by the injury. So.
And I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn. It brought tears to his eyes.
Yeah, wonderful.
You know, and that is a good way of putting it. You know, I never even really thought of it that way. But really, when these guys have this decreased sense of, you know, independence
and worth, self-worth.
Exactly. Now he's got a vehicle literally a vehicle, but he's got a way to get out there and do something that's not only good for his body, but his mind as well.
You bet. And then back on the subject of the tickets, again, hoorah for WMEL and the donation.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And we got some more donation. If you call in here we can provide you some tickets. Call 631-1300.
Area code.
First caller.
First caller. So get with it, and we got some free tickets. Free, our favorite word.
That's for sure.
Tampa Bay Rays game, and they've won like 8 of their last 9 or something. They're
they're
coming on
fire.
hard charging.
They're on fire. So if you'd like a pair of tickets to a Tampa Bay Rays game and you're going to go to the game, give us a call here at the station, 631-1300, compliments of WMEL. So congrats to those guys, and like I said, it's just another example of how WMEL supports our troops, and we certainly appreciate it. Now, Glenn, we got, oftentimes we talk about things in general, but I wanted today to bring in a couple questions because AVET Project and American Warrior Radio, through our Facebook pages, get questions from veterans in outlying areas. We've got some from Oregon and Texas and wherever, and locally here. And we wanted to go over some of the things, some of the questions that people have asked. One question we got, which is probably a common one, and I'm sure you hear it at the County Veteran Service Office, is, I've been out of service for blah, blah years, long time. Can I still file a claim for benefits? What's your answer to that?
Well, absolutely you can file a claim for benefits. I won't kid you, it gets a little tougher the longer you've been out, because you're going to have to show a chronicity. You're going to have to show that the problem has continued since you got out of active duty. It still exists today, and one of the best ways to show that, because most people don't, maybe they've seen a bunch of doctors depending on how long they've been out for treatment for the same issue, and you're not able to get the medical records to show that intervening chronicity treatment. So there is another way around that, and that's to get your current doctor who's treating you, first of all, to confirm that you have that, put down the diagnosis, put down how severe it is, how limiting it is on your abilities to work and do normal daily living activities, and then also to offer an opinion that it's at least as likely as not. That
Pretty low legal threshold there.
It's the lowest in the American judicial system.
At least as likely as not.
Yeah, it's 50-50, not 51-49. Most legal things require 51-49. So you get that letter from them, and let me tell you, the strongest letter that you can get from them is if you have a copy of your service treatment records, and you were treated, obviously, on active duty for it. You should have been, or why is it a disability unless it's one of the presumptives? And we talked about that in the past couple of shows.
Sure.
Things caused by Agent Orange, which is the big presumptive out there right now. That if you can show those records to your doctor, and they start off their statement with something like, after review of this person's military service treatment records, it's my opinion that it as likely as not, or stronger. It's definitely the same thing that happened on active duty. It continues. It's, been diagnosed. We have this many limitations on abilities to do things, and here's the treatment regime, here's the medicine that's being used, because sometimes the medicine can cause you secondary problems. The treatment can sometimes, you've heard the old saying, be as bad as the disability, but sometimes
Sure.
it happens because the nature of the disability and the nature of available treatment, the available treatment may have some pretty strong side effects to it. But yes, you can file. It doesn't matter how long you've been out. There's a way to go about it, and let's go back to our harp on, and that's you need representation. Come see us if you're in Brevard County. If you're in another county, go see your county veteran service officer, and there's one in every county in Florida.
And this gentleman was emailing, Facebooking from Oregon. His name was Jim. He got out in '96. We know for a fact that Oregon has the same system of representation. Each county has a veteran service office, so they're credentialed. These are the folks that you want to go seek out for professional claims assistance.
That's right, and the best way to find them is don't look for VA in the white pages.
No.
look for whatever the name of your county is in the white pages, and then look under there right towards the end of their phone listing, and you'll see Veteran Service Office or something similar.
Exactly.
And that's where the phone number is, and you get started there. You need help. You always need help. The longer you've been out, the more critical that is, because there's some rules that will help maximize your chances to get the claim approved that I was covering a minute ago. And you're not going to remember what I just covered, but I know it because I do it day in and day out.
Exactly. So that whole continuity of care issue you were talking about, for instance, this fella got out in 1996. He's never filed a claim. Maybe he hasn't seen, and I'm not going to go into what his disability was, but maybe he hasn't seen a doctor or a chiropractor or what have you. But like you said, if he can get a qualified medical opinion to say, look, it's clear from the records that it happened in service, it's bothering him today, and it's at least as likely as not related, boom, we got a well-grounded claim.
You betcha, and with a big good shot for approval.
There you go. So that's the answer to that one. I want to go over another one, and this happens to be, now we talk about this occasionally, and we really do need to do an entire episode, especially with the Women's Vet Center, Women and Children Veteran Center, just opened off Grissom in Cocoa. Beautiful building. Just did the dedication on Tuesday. They've got some folks in there now. I think we've got, what, 4 ladies? 4 ladies and some children. But it's one of the few that actually allow the women veterans who have children to come there, and they can stay up to, I think it's 2 years.
2 years is what I've been told, yeah.
Well, we'll definitely involve them and get into an issue that I'd like to address with this Facebook message coming from, let's see, well, somewhere local. But they're talking about male MST, military sexual trauma. Now, the particular question goes into how can he request reconsideration of his claim. The fast answer to that is if you need that kind of assistance where somebody needs to help you develop your, as they're saying, reconsideration, it's basically an appeal issue. If they're within the time period, and there's 1 year from the date you get your decision, that you must file what's called a notice of disagreement. You saying, I don't agree with your decision. That starts the appeal process, and then you have to, actually file a Form 9 later. But you have to get that notice of disagreement in within a year of the decision.
Absolutely correct, and of course the place to come for that again, is because you're local, is to our office, and we're out in the county government complex in Viera. We're across the street from the school board, or just east of the courthouse out there. You can't miss us. We're in Bravo building on the first floor. Just look at the signs on the wall. You'll find us. No problem. And the notice of disagreement, our philosophy on that, there's a couple ways you can do it, but our philosophy is to try and make most of your case with the notice of disagreement rather than wait till later on that you might have to file the Form 9, because with the notice of disagreement, you'll have 2 options once the VA processes it. And one is that have your claim reviewed again by a decision review officer who is a highly trained and experienced VA adjudication official, not the one that looked at and
originally rated your case.
And that's the one we recommend always, because it gives you the statistics are you got about a 25% chance of getting that overturned, and it's local and it's timely, and it only takes a year. Now I say only laughingly, because that's a short period of time in the VA claim system, unfortunately. And then if he or she continues to deny the claim, you still have the right to go to Washington, D.C. with that Form 9 form that Garen's talking about and ask for consideration by the Board of Veterans' Appeals. But if you're not in one of the special categories like a severely wounded combat veteran or over 75 years of age and your claim's been pending more than a year, and some other categories of terminally ill and those kind of things, you can anticipate waiting up to about 3 years for the Board of Veterans' Appeals to issue a decision if you're not in a special category. And those special categories cause some of that delay.
And I think that's kind of a good segue into another topic. Before we get to the bottom of the hour here, I want to bring it up. And that is this sequestration, Glenn. news media is all over this because of, let's not go into the politics. Bottom line is there's going to be some major budget cuts take place if they don't rework this. And that sequestration, just in a nutshell, was because they couldn't arrive at a solution. They said, okay, well, we're just going to axe half of this program, half the defense budget, all the way through.
Yeah.
And our president said that there would be no effect to the Veterans Department of Veterans Affairs, but then the secretary of the VA and even Leon Panetta, the DOD guy, said, wait a minute, there is going to be effects, and it's going to be affecting our administrative costs. So what do you make of all that?
Well, it's absolutely horrible. You can't, first off, you can't take $500 billion over the next 10 years from the Department of Defense, which is half the money that sequestration has to make up, which is $1 trillion. You can't take half of that from DOD, and it's starting to trickle out, it now appears, to VA, and expect that not to have massive consequences. And I don't understand the logic. I mean, there are, in my humble opinion, many other huge federal agencies in Washington, D.C. that don't need to be as huge as they are, or maybe don't even need to exist at all.
Exactly.
But certainly, one of the prime jobs of Congress is to provide for the protection of our country. You can't do that if you slice your military right down the gut line.
Exactly, and I will just mention from an article by Jennifer Rubin, President Obama publicly said at the VFW convention the VA is exempt from sequestration, yet the Secretary, Shinseki, conceded that the VA would face cuts early next year if a sequester takes place. Now, on a local level in Central Florida, our Representative Jeff Miller, who's the chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, was quoted as saying, "Since last August, I've been asking this question until today. I've received nothing but doublespeak." And he wants the President and the VA to define administrative costs. Now, that probably means cutting into their budget on how they affect the claims process and getting the benefits delivered to the vets.
Oh, I'm betting it. I'm betting it means that.
Okay, so guess what? That is a direct attack on them. Folks, we're running out of time here. Join us. Keep with us here on American Warrior Radio. We'll be back. We got an exciting interview. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on American Warrior Radio right here on AM 1300 WMEL.